All right, so my name is Dawn Johnson, and I am the Director of Customer Engagement.
Well, and I just want to say how grateful we are with the Go Green Initiative for the partnership that we've had with Engie. I feel like, what we did with the multi-city interns last summer was a great project, and we are just really excited to be working with you guys. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate you. That program it had so many silver linings to a summer where the kids were, had such upheaval in their lives. And
Yeah.
for 16 kids to do an online internship, starting in June in a year when we were in lockdown was amazing. So, and I loved the kids themselves. There was so much diversity and
Yep.
so much innovation for them. They really overcame a lot. So it was such a great group of kids.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they had to overcome was staring at Zoom for many hours a week, but they were troopers.
Yeah.
And it was funny because they said by the time they actually got to online school in the fall, they were teaching their teachers what to do. They were the pros. So we got them ready for a lot of things, not just, learning about how to manage energy in their schools. So speaking of managing energy in schools, I'm excited to talk to you, Dawn, because I know Engie services, you guys do a lot with a lot of different school districts all over the country to help school districts save energy and do a number of different projects. So let me start by asking you this. When Engie engages with a school district on an energy project, how important is it to benchmark and track energy use?
Energy use is really kind of the foundation of everything that an energy project sits upon. It's so important. I'll start with this quote: "You can't manage what you don't measure." And so it all starts with what they're using at the time. And so for us, we usually try to take a year to 3 years worth of energy benchmarking to look at. It helps to normalize for weather. It helps to normalize for events that are going on, one-time events. This year would be a terrible year to look at for energy usage in a school district. Depending upon where you are in the country, because in some cases, kids haven't been there since February.
Yeah.
So, looking at more than 1 year just tries to help you see a broader picture of what energy usage is. But it's not just energy. It can be water, gas, transportation, waste. There are so many things that you can measure at a school district.
That's so true. And in as much as you can't manage what you don't measure, it's also tough to know where the greatest opportunities for energy savings might be if you don't take a look at that data. And I'm sure that's part of, the scoping process for a project that schools want to do.
Absolutely. And a lot of times they'll take that entire building and use a modeling software. So our engineers will actually model that energy data to really then be able to determine what technical opportunities exist within those buildings. And they're really looking at everything. I mean, in different areas of the country, we really look at different pieces. It could be windows, building envelope,
Yeah.
all the way to the actual energy consumption. Consuming equipment within that building, HVAC, all electrical, any water or plumbing. It really, there's just a myriad of opportunities of items that utilize the utility dollars from a school district that are not students and
Yeah.
teachers.
Exactly. Not educational, it's
Right.
purely operational. So give us some specific examples of energy efficiency projects that NG has helped schools achieve. I'd love to hear, more about your menu of services and some of the specific case studies where you've really had some awesome success.
Yeah, absolutely. And really and truthfully, over probably the last 20 years, those scopes of services have really grown by leaps and bounds. Really, when you look at the renewables industry, whether we're looking at solar and wind, biomass, there's just a whole, even from the transportation side, looking at different biogases. So,
Mhm.
there's all of those opportunities that really exist. Now we're really seeing over the past probably 3 to 5 years, the addition of battery storage into those renewable projects, especially in areas such as California, where they're having power shutoffs due to the fires that had occurred. They really are looking at opportunities to have resiliency, but it's not just in areas with fires. It's in areas that need, areas that have been flooded or have these very large natural disasters that are occurring on a regular basis, or our island community in Hawaii.
Right.
They are they're not close to anything. They cannot evacuate. And so they have to be resilient on their own. So battery storage has really kind of opened up that world for being able to use those renewables and then have energy when, for any unknown natural disaster, you are without energy. So those are kind of the new and fun things that we're doing. But we're also, the core business that we were really founded upon was that traditional energy service, which is looking at your energy usage, all electrical usage, HVAC, anything that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning related, and then any water conservation measures. Really, those are the things that are kind of the solid base for being able to go into any school district and look for areas to work upon. But then there's the one thing that always kind of drives home energy savings, and that is lighting. Lighting is such a big load within any of our school districts that we go into, and lighting is much like renewables. The technologies have changed so greatly over time. And when we're looking at those technologies today, they're very affordable. And these technologies are lasting for a long period of time. They're very tried and true now. And so you're seeing kind of that really swift move to LEDs. We've even seen it in residential for ourselves, for you and I. And when we go to the store, those LEDs used to be $15 to $20, several years ago, and now you're getting them for, $1. So the technology has really kind of enhanced and really great. And some of the things that I love the most about lighting is just the color change that it can have for a classroom.
Yes.
And the impacts it has on the occupants. There was a lot of, for adults who spend a lot of time in the classrooms, the ballasts have changed, the noise level has changed, but really that dissipation of light from the LEDs is really enhanced. So I really love that whole aspect of lighting and all of the different changes it has done. It really enhanced the learning environment.
Yeah. You and I were working together to serve the Compton Unified School District. And I know that Engie is doing some really tremendous work there. I don't know if you want to talk about Compton or some other school district, but can you give us, a specific example of a project in a school district that's really been stellar?
When it comes to technology, I think there's a couple of different places where we really have an impact. I know the team that I work with, our focus is on really having customer engagement. So working with students and working with teachers. And so I have projects that are like my favorites there. I think one of the most interesting stories that I'll tell you about lighting is we worked with a school near Waikiki in Hawaii, and we installed some human-centric lighting within one of their classrooms. And one of the students had issues as they related to lights. And so he wore sunglasses in the classroom a lot of the time. And he missed a lot of school and had a lot of absenteeism. And it was a struggle for this poor student. And so we installed this lighting control system in there. It had different levels, different ways for focus to occur. And so the teacher went through that. We worked with her to kind of figure out, okay, when do students utilize this level of lighting? When did they utilize this level? Some of it was for calmness after they came back from recess and things of that nature. The students were responsible for it, but I think one of the things that was most interesting was the impact that that lighting had on that one student.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back to school, and we actually received updates because they were so excited about, he had his absenteeism went to virtually none.
That's
Uh,
fantastic.
and he was just happier being in class. And so the next year he went to another classroom, and they were talking to us. They were like, lighting has to follow the students. So, I think for me, it's truly, our technologies and the work that we do is more than just lowering utility bills. It
Mm-hmm.
truly has an impact on people. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are the stories that make me the happiest.
I love that. That's awesome. So, I know that you see school districts all over the country, and, there are a lot of things that people who work for a school district might see as a benefit to being energy efficient. But from your vantage point, working for Engie, what are some of the benefits that you see for schools being energy efficient?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Districts are driven by different items that really are meeting their community needs. I mean,
Mhm.
there's the first one that we all know, lowering their utility spend. I mean, it's super important because behind salaries, utilities are usually the second highest bill that our districts are paying. So if you can lower that, you can utilize that money somewhere else. Yay!
Yes.
But, there are some of our districts are driven by other motives, and sometimes it's they need an upgrade in technologies,
Mhm.
or their deferred maintenance is really high because they
Mhm.
just haven't had the money to spend,
Yeah.
and they haven't been funded the way that they need to be funded to keep up with the facilities. And so this is a great way for them to be able to do that work and not have a capital expenditure out at that very moment, because they're cash strapped. And
Yeah.
so if it can be budget neutral for them, that's a win for them, because then they get rid of some of those deferred maintenance and facility issues that
Mhm.
they have been plagued with.
Yeah.
Because we repair roofs as well as part of some of these programs, and leaky roofs is a problem for some of these schools.
It
If you'll
is.
notice, a lot of them have flat roofs.
Yes.
Some of our districts are looking to be environmentally friendly and
Yeah.
sustainable. And so their driver is to have renewables, to be seen as a leader in sustainability within their communities.
Mhm.
So, really, and we talked a little bit about the resiliency piece too. Our school districts are utilized as safe havens, and they're
Yeah.
utilized as places for people to go in natural disasters. So,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of different reasons why districts do the things that they do.
Mhm. Now let me ask you this. Once Engie Services goes in and you guys do a great project with the school district, how important is it to keep tracking energy use after a project is completed?
Wow. Yes. So there are a lot of different reasons why school districts will continue to track their utilities post a program like this.
Mhm.
So they're first off, in most cases, they want to be able to share the information with their constituents.
Mhm.
They want
Yep.
to be able to tell the community we are doing the right thing with the money that's funding us, because a lot of our school districts are funded by taxpayer dollars or bonds.
Yeah.
So they want to show that they are being good stewards in their community. In some cases, the way that the projects are funded actually require that you monitor for a certain number of years after a project like this is done, because they want to make sure that the money that has been spent, if it is in fact a budget neutral program,
Mhm.
it needs to stay that way.
Mhm.
There's another great opportunity for school districts when you're working with projects in the energy services field, and that is to get a guarantee out of it. And it's much like an insurance policy for a school
Mhm.
district. And so if you have a guarantee associated with this, it's basically saying, we installed it we install this technology to save you this much money. If it doesn't, we're going to make you whole, and we're going to make sure that that money comes, that we meet the numbers that we said we were going to meet. And if we don't, we're going to pay you. And so that's also another reason to continue to monitor and have that information. And then it's back to that old quote. You can't manage what you don't measure.
Yeah.
And so if you just leave it out there to continue to run the way that it is, you don't know if things are running a lot longer than they should be. You don't know if people are shutting off lights like they should. You just don't know. And so it is just such a great idea to maintain some sort of monitoring program for, even if you haven't done a big energy program, it's just to make sure that because even utility bills can have errors on them.
Right.
You can have a water leak and not know, it'll be underground and not know about it for years. I went to one school district and they had a hose that was running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week into a drain, and had been doing so for, I think 3 years.
Oh no. Oh gosh.
And
Yeah.
water is like our next big commodity to have to be able to tackle. People having clean water that is available is a huge struggle. I mean, we see it, we saw it with Flint, we see it with drought issues within California. I mean, water is one of those areas where we're going to continue to see issues. I know in some of the studies that I have done, the US is one of the very few places that uses treated water to wash cars, clean driveways, and all of the other things that we take for granted to do with water. But we have to remember all of that water is treated, and the water that we're utilizing is meant to be for drinking water purposes. So
exactly. It's very energy intensive to treat that water for those kinds of purposes. So we could go on for days about the water energy nexus, but you're right. I mean, schools that want to be energy efficient, I mean, part of the equation is also being water efficient. So as you know, this course is all about encouraging school districts to use the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So I've got 2 questions for you. The first one is, in your experience, why is the Energy Star Portfolio Manager a good tool for schools?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know one of the biggest things that I see for school districts is that there's just not a great way for them to know exactly how they're doing. There's no real benchmarks out there for them to be able to look at, with the exception of Energy Star Portfolio Manager.
Right.
It really gives them the opportunity to benchmark themselves against other people that are like them, other buildings that are like them. It also, I think, for the times that I have used it, it's a great way just to put your building into a manageable thought process. It really walks you through very nicely all of the things that you should be looking at and thinking about. Some of the things you may not have really stumbled across in your thought process to this, especially if this isn't your everyday job. And in school districts, we all know that usually the person performing this job has many hats that they wear.
Absolutely.
And so this really, I think, is a very easy way for them to combine all of that information and be able to have it there. And Energy Star Portfolio Manager has really come a long way too, in the ways that you can input your data into the system automatically, have it happening monthly. And personally, I love the plan that you had with the students this past summer, which was student engagement. Our kids want to leave a legacy. What a better way than to have them learning a great skill, learning about energy, and being able to help the school at the same time. Because if their school is doing great, you get an award, and who doesn't love an award?
That is so true. Energy Star certification is an amazing achievement, and we really want to help schools achieve that and keep some of that money for educational purposes that they would have otherwise spent on utilities. I guess the last question that I have for you is, what advice do you have for school districts that are just kind of starting out, just beginning to benchmark and track their utilities? What advice do you have?
Just start. Pick a spot and start. You can even pick one building and start. But just, I I work with a lot of school districts, and one of the things that I'm always amazed by is a lot of times the utility bills come to somebody's desk and they just get paid.
Yep.
And nobody really takes or has the job to actually look at those bills, audit those bills, really learn what is happening with those bills. And so I would just say, take a minute. It's worth it. It doesn't take that long. And once you get it set up, it's really easy to keep it going, but it'll give you a very quick idea of where you stand across the country compared to buildings. And then you can start then to be able to manage what you're measuring and take a look, you know, and it doesn't have to be every day, but you can do small things to start to understand and look at your buildings and say, okay, why is this one using so much more than this one? And why is it so different than this one? And there's a lot of reasons why that may occur. It could be the type of energy that they're using. It could be the size, it could be the building materials. There's a lot of things that go into it. However, the portfolio really helps you narrow down, you know, what to look at and where to look and things of that nature. So I can just say you can get started today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dawn. Is there anything else, you know, any parting words that you'd like to leave with our audience? I wanted to give you, if there's anything else you'd like to share, please do.
Yeah, Jill, I think, you know, our districts are doing so much and they have so many things that are of concern to them. First and foremost, the kids that we put in their care, the teachers, and of this year, of all of the years, we have seen how important this is. And that, you know, when you look at the list of things that they have on their plates, energy can be very low on that list. But I would say, and I would challenge our districts to look at this, that, and I know our kids will go back to school one day, that the environment of their building is super important. And the place that they're learning and spending 8 hours of their day means a lot to them. And it impacts their health, it impacts our teachers, and good healthy buildings and good learning environments are good for everybody. And so you can start by just looking at your energy and looking at your buildings. They're right there in front of you, and it's a wonderful living laboratory that you can utilize for your kids to learn about through science, through English, through math. It's an excellent opportunity to just involve those kids in learning about their building.
Well said. Thank you so much, Dawn.